I am Efren Tadiaman, an independent researcher, not a technology, not a financial expert. I am but a curious but ingenious person who loves to explore how things works and sometimes finds a way to innovate and develop new ideas or devices to be more efficient, reliable, and cost effective. My ignorance is my best teacher, and through observation and experimentation, collecting significant data, using my intuition, senses, and harnessing and understanding the law of nature is where I get the best and reliable information. We are all laboratories conducting experiments with thoughts and extending the thought to function and utility. What we can accomplish is bewildering. All it takes is just a jolt out of inertia. It is not enough to sit and wait for things to happen. Success comes to those who are proactive and reactive, and to people who possess what I call the dare to go. Okay? I love the old school, like the great Nikola Tesla, that relies upon empirical method, and the empirical method is necessary in entering hitherto completely unexplored fields and becomes increasingly less and purely empirical as the acquired mastery of the field increases. Successful use of an empirical method demands a high degree of intuitive ability in the practitioner. This demands hundreds of hours of experimentations and observation before an inventor will guide him to design his working model and finally engineering prototype. While doing an independent personal research and study in aquaculture from 2001 and 2007 in Coachella Valley, California, one of the problems I was trying to solve in industrialized aqua farming is to be self-sustaining in electricity. I started my independent research in designing a water turbine using a recirculating water system. Electricity is one of the factors eating the aqua farming profit. From 2006, I started fooling around with the law of thermodynamics and law of conservation of energy. According to this law, energy can neither be created or produced nor destroyed by itself. It can only be transformed, and according to energy conservation law, the total inflow of energy into a system must equal to the total inflow of energy from the system, plus the change in energy contained within the system. How about if you combine different potential energy into a system and harnessing them to produce only one purpose, moving a flywheel which is also the rotor of a generator, and this potential energy is renewable energy which comes from natural resources or naturally replenished. To be honest with you, while I was doing my research and innovation to this moving part, which is the motor of the generator, and seriously tinkering and building different models starting on March 2009, and everybody thought that my concept and idea was crazy. How about if you combine different potential energy into a system and harnessing them to produce only one purpose, moving a flywheel which is also the rotor of a generator, and this potential energy is renewable energy which comes from natural resources or naturally replenished. To be honest, with you, while I was doing my research and innovation to this moving part, which is the motor of the generator, and seriously tinkering and building different models starting on March 2009, and everybody thought that my concept and idea was crazy. Overview of the invention. Field of invention. The proposed invention relates in the production of electricity using a new thermodynamic cycle. A thermodynamic cycle requires, in addition to the supply of incoming energy, a working substance, usually gas or vapor, and a mechanism in which the process or pace can be carried sequentially. A thermodynamic sink to which the residual heat can be rejected, and the cycle itself is a repetitive series of operation. And a system is that part of the physical world under consideration, and the rest of the world is the surroundings. An open system may exchange mass, heat, and work with the surroundings, and a closed system may exchange heat and work but not mass with surroundings. Those parts of the system, especially uniform and homogeneous, are called phases. The secret to doing so is quite simple. Use the back to basic open system approach to develop a very straightforward yet sophisticated design which avoid all of the unnecessary pitfall. Our new design clearly suggests that this is possible, as what I observe in my working models. If the force is greater than the resistance, motion will result in output is greater than the input, in which produce extra energy, and this extra energy can be amplified by combining the different open system. Our new design of a flywheel rotor and harnessing all the potential energy available with only one purpose, to rotate the flywheel. The proposed invention will use an open system to harness the available renewable energy which is naturally replenished. The background of the invention: in the present time, a technology and consequently a machine does not exist that would allow to combine together the process of harnessing the air, combination of different turbines, and the floating bearing system, mechanical and gas, and then a new design of flywheel in which the mass is not solid, with chambers of movable mass, and the compressed air harness will even cool the motor and generator and propel the flywheel in a high speed. And another feature of this machine, it got only few moving parts, thus reducing friction and simple to produce. For a fuller understanding of the nature and objects of the invention, only the inventor can explain it, since it is a trade secret and can be only disclosed to a third party who will be their partner in the business. And the invention or machine may be configured in a variety of shapes and sizes, and not limited by the dimension of the prepared embodiment, and numerous applications of this present invention will readily occur to those skilled in the art. Therefore, it's not desired to limit the invention to the specific examples disclosed, or the exact construction and operation shown and described. Rather, all suitable modifications and equivalent may be referred to falling within the scope of the invention. Food and energy, the most important commodities in the future. We should do some actions in research and development and innovation for the future of our children's children. From 2001 to 2007, I did my independent research and development and innovation in aquaculture from 2003 to 2007. I transferred to Aqua Farming Tech Incorporated to test my broodstock red and golden orange tilapia with the approval of Rocky Prince to test it in this farm. He is also the founder and CEO. When I was in Aqua Farming Tech, I collaborated with Rocky Friends in research and development and innovation in intensive culture system in aquaculture. Most of it are out-of-the-box ideas, and the experimentation we have done was recorded in videos and in my personal journals. Rocky Friends and me, Efren and Tadiaman, had done some innovations never been tried in aquaculture. Rocky and me is the same age. We are born in 1957. We are the baby boomer. Aqua Farming Tech is the definitive leader in the industry. State-of-the-art aquaculture operations are conducted from the two farms encompassing 120 acres. Always an industry innovator. Aqua Farming Tech is the first farm with more than 60 tanks. One of the first farms to build above the ground cement tanks, and the first farm to utilize a mechanical aerator to improve the oxygenation of the water, the first farm to develop and implement method of recycling water, and the first farm to generate significant percentage of its power from solar, and the first farm to self-manufacture its own feed, and the only farm endorsed and accredited by the state of California to do and accept training and education of people about intensive culture system in aquaculture.
In a world with increasingly limited land for growing food, we invest in agricultural enterprises that produce the highest possible yield per acre. We also leverage that strength by using the most efficient energy resources on the planet. It's no secret that some of the smartest investors in the world are betting on the development of highly efficient methods of growing food in smaller spaces. People like George Soros, Warren Buffett, and Bill Gates have seen the numbers and added farmland to their portfolios. Here's what they know. The world's population is projected to be 40% higher by 2050 than it is today. That's not far down the road, and yet our farmland is shrinking every year. An estimated worldwide equivalent of 40% of California's agricultural land is lost every 18 months, which will result in a dramatic increase in the cost of food. But there's hope and opportunity. There are methods of farming that can address these frightening numbers and help feed a hungry planet while generating profits for forward-thinking investors. In short, a chance to do well by doing good. In this respect, New Global Energy Business Unit, Aqua Farming Tech, has been at the forefront of developing and implementing the most advanced sustainable methods of producing premium seafood since 1993. Its operations are located just east of Palm Springs in the heart of the Coachella Valley in California. When Aqua Farming Tech started, global aquaculture accounted for less than 10% of seafood consumption. Now it's about 40%. The United States imports about 86% of its seafood, only half of which is wild caught. In fact, what looks like a brilliant idea now had its critics 20 years ago, as our aqua farming manager, industry legend Rocky French explains.
When we started, everybody was thinking that we were crazy because we're trying to build fish farm in the desert. It turned out this is the very best place to start fish farming.
But as ideal as the Coachella Valley is for growing tilapia, this type of farming also has its pitfalls. In California and elsewhere, other fish farms have shut down as a result of three persistent issues. We're fortunate that Rocky and the rest of our technical team have met these challenges.
High density type of fish farming, you're faced with like three major problems. Electricity, feed, and water. In our case, we're able to mitigate our problem by putting a solar array. We save about, we save about 80 to 90% of our electric bill already. The second issue was water use. And of course, in the farm, we're doing recirculation. We pump the water, it goes into our reservoir, gets cleaned up by the water vegetation. One of the major costs of fish production is feed. We figured that if we could build our own feed mill, design our own feed, and have better control on what type of ingredients that we could put in the feed, this would be a major contribution to the production of good quality, sustainable type of fish.
In addition to producing our own feed, Aquafarming Tech has developed a proprietary fish feeding methodology that is projected to save up to 70% of the overall feed cost. The program involves feeding our fish green algae for the first 4 months in the grow-out ponds. In their natural environment, tilapia, which are vegetarian, feed on nutrient-rich algae and other aquatic plants. This sustainable technique dramatically lowers the feed cost, and the oxygen-producing action of the algae reduces electricity costs by diminishing the need to run mechanical paddle wheels to aerate the water during the day when the electricity rates are at their highest. By successfully solving critical cost issues that confront fish farming in this area, we lead the industry in tilapia farming, and we are in a position to acquire or lease other California fish farms as they have closed. Because Aquafarming Tech has perfected high-density aquafarming, our yields are much higher per acre than traditional fish farming. Most farms yield about 1,200 to 1,500 fish per acre, while we average 30 to 35,000 fish per acre.
Tilapia, the fish that will feed the world. The biblical origins of tilapia. Considering tilapia has been around since about 1500 BC, it's not surprising that this fish has history, especially when it comes to the Bible. While tilapia is now known for being a mild protein-rich fish that can be used in many dishes, it was once a staple in the diets of the Mediterranean locals during the Roman Empire, making it utmost importance in biblical times. In fact, scholars speculate that tilapia was heavily referenced in the Bible, with a specific focus in the miracles of Jesus and his disciple, Peter. St. Peter Feast. The Sea of Galilee is located in Israel, a country that contains some of the holiest sites of Christianity, Judaism and Islam. Its warm fresh waters also make it an ideal location for tilapia to thrive. Tilapia is rumored to be the fish that was caught by St. Peter in the Sea of Galilee and fed the masses of Tadiaman, an ancient town on the northwest coast of the sea, by Jesus. This is one of the reasons why the fish is also known as St. Peter fish, and is separated from meat according to Lenten standards. To this day, there are still plenty of tilapia exist in the sea, and they are normally fish labeled as St. Peter fish in local markets and restaurants. Sea of Galilee. The sea itself also holds importance in Christian scripture, in addition to being the location of the miracle of the 5 loaves and 2 fish. It's said that the Sea of Galilee is the site where Jesus walked on water. Even his famous Sermon on the Mount is believed to have been delivered on the northern shore of this body of water, with a size similar to that of Washington, D.C. The Sea of Galilee is also one of the largest sources of fresh water in Israel, making it a site of great importance in its own right. The fish of the masses. Tilapia were, and still are, famous for spawning in abundance. They were also the easiest fish to catch during biblical times, as they required little equipment to catch, as they stay relatively close to the surface of the water and swim close together. And beyond the experience of Jesus and St. Peter, tilapia was also important because it was an available source of nutritious sustenance, making it a vital during biblical times where fresh foods was often scarce. Locals didn't have a means of preservation, so going from sea to plate was the only option. Since then, tilapia's availability to quickly mature and reproduce has allowed communities surrounding the Sea of Galilee, as well as other bodies of water around the world, to satiate their appetites for fish and healthy protein. Not only it is a fish that has sustained cultures for centuries, but it's one that plays a large role in one of the monumental moments of Jesus Christ's life. The nutritious fish was, and still is, enjoyed by those who follow Jesus and live by what he preached. Moreover, it is sustainable, ethical, and nutritious fish that can be enjoyed year-round, especially during Lent time.
When I was doing my independent research in aquaculture about intensive tilapia farming, it really opened my mind to really explore and learn a lot of things. My ignorance is my best teacher. For 7 years of putting 100% of my time studying the industry about aquaculture, it covered also marketing, production, product development, and how to be off the grid in search of renewable energy, self-sufficient in quality feeds production in the future of the industry. My intellectual property that concerns about this industry, trade secrets that I learned, gathered, my documentation in videos, aside from my journals and personal notes, some model system we tried and worked beyond our expectation and passed Rocky Friend's strict and meticulous standard to be used in his production. We were able to formulate some new solutions so valuable in the future to be used once I finally decided to venture in aquaculture or share it to the right people who believe in us for the advancement of the industry. God bless.
Studios and worldwide through Yorba Media. I have Perry West, CEO, New Global Energy, on the show with us today. Perry, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great. All right, Perry, I was looking at your company. When it comes to food, you guys have got it covered. I can't wait to get into the moringa, but first, let me back up a little bit, and please give us the depth and the background of the management style that you bring to the table.
My background is primarily technology development in small public companies over the last 30 years, essentially, and we've brought that and those ideas to New Global Energy, which is basically a renewable and sustainable agriculture and aquaculture company driven by technology, and so that's been our focus. And we're trying to drive the company to focus on the acquisition of and operation of high growth assets in this industry.
Well, you certainly have the portfolio taken care of. But let's get into you for a second here, because you're an attorney, you're a practicing attorney, and you have had some milestones, some success in your history. Bring some of that out before we get into New Global Energy, their bio, what they're into, and we've got plenty of time to walk through the different parts of the portfolio that you bring out.
Well, I've had some experience in a number of areas, technology related and natural resource related. I was CEO of Cambridge Energy, which was a small public E&P company with oil and gas production in Louisiana and Texas and internationally in Indonesia. I've been the CEO of Interactive Technologies, which was an interactive digital media company. That was a NASDAQ company that was listed in NASDAQ. Early on, a business partner and I started American Financial Network, which became the largest computerized loan origination network in the country, and one of the first. Even in the days before public access to the internet, we operated our own network, and it became a significantly large company. I think we did well over $2 billion in business. We went from an idea to listing on NASDAQ early on. And I've more recently been involved with the development of concentrated solar power technology through a company called Nanogen, which concentrated in developing a solar system not related or not using PV panels, but using concentrated solar in a small to medium size marketplace. And I've brought some of that to New Global, which we expect to apply as we go along in the different acquisition of different properties. But those are some of the areas of background that may be of some interest and certainly relate to what we're doing here.
Well, I can tell that you're a very modest person, but those are definitely some real strong attributes that you bring to the table: is continued success and being ahead of the curve. I wanted to bring that out for just a moment, but what led you to get into, because those are different fields, maybe the oil and gas is a natural resource, but now you're talking about farmland, aquaculture, shrimp, and then also this moringa plant or tree. I guess it's actually a tree. Let's get into that, because you're in an industry sector, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm a natural resource person from way back, and you're getting into an industry sector that there is always a demand for, and it seems to me you're a little ahead of the curve on this. Let's bring New Global Energy's bio out, a little bit about what the company does, and then if we can, we'll walk through and drill down into some of the different parts of your portfolio here.
Well, as I indicated, we're basically an aquaculture and agriculture company,
right?
Focused on areas that we believe are sustainable and renewable, an attribute which is really an essential to the future marketplace. I think if you look at the farmland as an asset base, for instance. I'm not sure how you could hit all the bases better for an investment or a desired asset than farmland. First of all, you have growing demand. The population is expected to grow 40% by the year 2050. Significant growth in demand. You have decreasing availability of farmland. Every year, worldwide, we lose an amount of farmland equal to about 40% of all the farmland in California. Every year, we lose that, and those two things related add to ever-increasing value, and the record shows it. I mean, every year since World War II, the U.S. has had, except for 4 years, has had a steady increase in the value of farmland, and focusing on that, it's just not doesn't make sense not to become involved and lay out a business plan which focuses on farmland as part of your asset base.
Let me drill down into the farmland for a minute before we switch over to agriculture. On the farmland, are there any specific crops or types of farming that you think are going to be more valuable in the future than most people would know right now?
Well, obviously by the areas that we focused in, we believe that agriculture, which we'll talk about in a second, is an area, and some of the things we'll talk about, you'll see why it actually becomes obvious why that's a focus. We're trying to focus on crops that are make the most efficient use of farmland and crops which we can make a difference in applying technology, where we can reduce costs through the application of things like solar energy and feeding technology and those types of things.
So in essence, what you're doing is you're through your farming, you're lowering the energy costs, you're protecting the environment, and you're creating food.
Yes, I mean that's the bottom line, and that's the product, and it's a sustainable or renewable product. You grow the food, you sell it, you go back and you grow more food, and again on that same asset base. It's where, for instance, mining and oil and gas, it's a declining asset, depreciating asset, or the depleting asset, because you take out the oil and gas or the minerals out of the ground. With farming and renewable agriculture. In agriculture, you just go back and grow an additional crop every year or every 6 months or whatever your crop cycle is.
Let's switch if we can. We've got about 3.5 minutes left in this segment, and talk just a little bit about the aquaculture, fish farming.
Well, just to set the stage a little bit, in the United States, every American, on the average, consumes about 16 pounds of fish and shellfish a year, with about 4.5 pounds of that being shrimp. So you have an existing and significant market. The resources here in terms of growth have been limited, so that our seafood every year is an increasing percentage is imported. We import about 84% or 85% of seafood, and that's increasing. Just 10 years ago, that was only 63%. So you can see that there's an issue in terms of the United States being able to furnish enough seafood. Again, an area where there's an increasing demand.
And aren't our oceans getting depleted? I mean, they're
well, not only oceans. The oceans are getting depleted, but the commercial fish stocks in the ocean and some of the ocean fisheries as well, 75% of them are depleted or overexploited, as has been characterized by the UN. So that availability is becoming more limited as well. So it just drives up the demand curve to the point where it's you almost can't, if you're in this industry, you can't not be in this particular product range.
Right. Let me see if I've got my statistics correct, but in the 70s, aquaculture represented some 6% of the total seafood consumption, and today it's 40 and expected to go to 50% by 2024. So obviously you're in an area that there is definitely upside demand and declining supply until you figure out how to really move it out. So I want to applaud you on that. We're going to need to go to a break here, Perry, in just a minute, but I want to make sure the audience gets your contact information. newglobalenergy.net for the web address, right?
That's correct, yeah.
All right, and OTC bulletin board, NGEY for the symbol?
Right.
All right, perfect. And then let me make sure I've got this correct also. For anybody who wants to talk to, say, investor relations or somebody else within your company, 877-843-4081. Did I get that correct?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Perry, let's take a small break, a couple of minutes. And on the other side of this break, if we can, I want to drill down into what's going on in the shrimp industry and what's happening with the moringa plant. It's a tree, right?
Right.
All right. Because that one, I started off the show with, that one is really surprising when you got to look at your company and you're working with that. So we'll just take a little break and we'll be right back. All right, Perry?
Okay, good.
All right, thank you. This is Perry D. West, CEO, New Global Energy. Symbol on that company is NGEY, traded on OTC bulletin board, and the web address newglobalenergy.net. We'll be right back. iHeart Media Studios and worldwide through yorbamedia.com. I'm joined on the show with Perry D. West, CEO, New Global Energy. Symbol on this stock is NGEY, traded on the OTC bulletin board. Web address is newglobalenergy.net. All right, Perry, thanks for coming back on the show. Appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here, Michael.
Thank you. All right, when we were talking about aquaculture where we left off on the last segment, and it's definitely got some dynamics that put you in the catbird seat, if you will, no pun intended. But the shrimp market, after going through some of the information that you provide to the public, this is amazing stuff. A new disease ravaging shrimp farms around the world. Bring us up to speed on this.
Well, it's a virus that has been just pervasive. Primarily, the primary shrimp raising areas are in China and Asia, and those areas over the last several years have been struck by a virus which has just ravaged really more than 40% of their crops, and it has reduced same time, demand in this country is increasing.
Yeah, what is it? Early mortality syndrome, right?
EMS, you're right. Early mortality syndrome.
Right. Now, this has been around since 2009, then it went to Vietnam. How is this, affecting their exportation? I mean, what percentage decline in the crop are we looking at, if that's a proper term?
We're looking at overall at a 40% decline in the entire shrimp production. And a shrimp production that was at about even demand. So, I mean, that increases the scarcity by a factor of 40%. It drives you to that area.
All right, so that by you being in this industry, farming shrimp, I'm going to end this disease. Somebody asked me, because I was talking about this interview with my significant other before I came onto the show, and they were wondering, does that spread to, let's say, all exoskeleton, like crab or lobster or things of that nature, or is it just focused on shrimp?
This particular virus has been focused on shrimp, and the shrimp farms have gone to biosecurity to limit the spread. Of course, it's already taken its toll by the time they've done that.
Okay, all right. So costs rising due to a 40%. I mean, is it 1-to-1? Are we looking at a different ratio for percentage cost of appreciation to purchase the shrimp relative to the decline, some 40% in the supply?
Well, you have other market factors. People change their selection. So you don't have a direct 1-to-1. I mean, you can see what's happened in the stores when you go buy shrimp in the store. The reason for that is what's happened in Asia, because the shrimp production here is only a fraction of what we use. So it's not quite a 1-to-1, but it allows us an opening for the market. And basically, we have a 100% call on our any shrimp production. Just like we do for our live fish production as well.
Nice. You said live fish production. What else besides the shrimp are you producing?
Well, we produce primarily live tilapia. We do produce a couple other fish in smaller numbers, but primarily live tilapia, which serves throughout the Southern California market. One of the features to me, which just calls for focus on this industry and on New Global, is this set of numbers, and we have what we call a feed conversion ratio, which is the amount of food versus what is yielded. For instance, in sheep and cattle, you have an 8-to-1 conversion ratio, 8 pounds of food per 1 pound produced of sheep or cattle. 4-to-1 with pigs, 2-to-1 with poultry, and 1.5-to-1 with fish. So you have 1.5 pounds per pound of feed per pound of fish produced. So you can just see, just by that basic number of food costs, that fish is going to continue to increase and continue to dominate the market.
Are you going to keep your operations domestic, or do you have plans for international expansion?
We've been, throughout the last couple years, developing and reviewing operations in Central America, mainly because it's been close to us, and we have some familiarity with operations down there and some industry contacts and relationships. Our focus right now, though, is in the Coachella Valley in Southern California. We believe there's other opportunities in the valley, and that will give us some ability to, save on some management and expense by dividing up our marketplace too much. But we have a lot of work to do in the valley in terms of expansion there. So we're focused there, but we're also have done work and looking at operations in Central America.
Now, if I may, let's switch over to the moringa. I was just amazed at the statistics you've got here. First, let me back up. Tell everybody what it is, and then we can get into some of the statistics of how healthy this thing is.
Well, moringa is basically a tree, and the products really are all parts of the tree, but it's primarily a seed pod that you harvest and eat as a bean or seed, or you process it as seed, or you process the leaves, and you either they can be ground and very fine into supplements, just in a gel cap supplement. They can be made into tea or other factors, but the two pieces of it that we're focused on are the seed pods and the leaves, and it's a tree, so you just harvest those parts of the tree, and it grows back, and you harvest again the following year those parts of the tree. But as you said, it's really exciting when you look at what this food does. By the way, we do use some of this for fish food as well, supplements for our fish as well. But it's a supplement for humans, which has some of the numbers you were talking about. Has twice the protein of yogurt, 3 times the potassium of bananas, 4 times the calcium of milk, 4 times the vitamin A of carrots, 7 times the vitamin C of oranges, and 25 times the iron of spinach. It's really a superfood, it's just really getting started. We have done some work with this in Central America, and now we've planted a significant planting in our farm in the Coachella Valley.
Now, I don't know if I've got the right plant or the right tree, but from my understanding, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but this tree grows very fast.
Yes. I mean, you expect to do at least a crop a year. It may be a year to 2 years initial growth cycle, but it's you have a tree, which is again a sustainable product in that you don't use up the tree. You just use the leaves and the seed pods grown on the tree.
That's amazing stuff. I really appreciate you taking the time to come to the show with us today. Perry, last parting takeaway message in the minute that we have remaining in the interview.
Well, there's so many things to talk about. It's hard to focus in on it. But I think that I just want to let people understand that our focus is to bring technology to this marketplace and to maximize output and to maximize, hopefully, the profit that people will see from our company. That's what we expect.
With the margins that you just mentioned, I don't see how you could not have superior results for all of the investors, let alone provide an answer to a depleting source that's out there for everybody. My hat's off to you, Perry. I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
All right, thanks, Michael.
My pleasure. Perry D. West, CEO, New Global Energy, web address newglobalenergy.net, symbol on this stock, NGEY, traded on the OTC bulletin board. And special thanks to 1-800-publicrelations.com for all their PR and media support. We'll be back again with more great content just for you. Thanks for joining.
Well, this is really... Actually, I am the one that introduced Moringa when I'm doing my independent research in aquaculture. Actually, the Moringa, I use it in the hatchery. Because Moringa, for me, I'm an Ilocano. And among the Filipinos, the Ilocanos is related to their famous of. They call it the malunggay or moringa and the bagoong. Because moringa for me, when I was young, I know already that moringa. Rocky is not even, Rocky is an Ilonggo. Alright? And actually, that is the reason also when it became now bigger than aquaculture, that they have already here expanded it like another company, man, I can sue them because That is my idea that have economic significance because the new global energy bought only the share of Big Mama, the partner of
You are a
Rocky.
proponent of
This venture company only bought
using
the
moringa
tilapia
as
business, not the
tilapia
moringa.
feeds. Why is that?
Anyway, I am not that greedy also. So anyway, Rocky also benefited from it. However, when we planted moringa in our church, in the vacant lot, 2 acres, because in Mecca I only planted 2 acres of moringa over there. That's 2003. And how big are those moringa now? Man, they are making money already. 2012, when we started planting moringa to be used for research and development, for science and and medicine. Man, this is one of the resource for our financial capability, because the assets of the church is actually the property that we can do a lot of things in.
In
That is a
mixing
4
moringa
acres
in your
property of
feeds,
prime land.
say for
And
every
this,
100
when the
kilos of
corporate
feeds, what
pastor
would be the
came,
percentage of moringa?
man, they uprooted even the moringa that we planted. These are stupid people, man. So now we also now have this evidence that those moringa are money. So now we lost a lot of money already. And when also they evicted us and the almost 8 churches that is renting to us, man, we are making $150,000 a year. That is the revenue of the church. And 5 years now pass. So we lost a lot already. Almost $500,000 plus the moringa. The economic
Why is it
significance,
spending?
man. I don't know what the poor square is going to do with this stupid 2 employee that they think they are above anybody. Man, you are done. God bless you, and I hope you're going to change your ways. Amen to you.
Growth-wise,
Not a big difference, but health-wise, you can see that you have healthier fish, and then you save more money by using moringa as one of your components.
thank you very much. Rocky French, one of the outstanding tilapia farmers in Southern California, talking about moringa.
Thank you.
These are the moringa tree. And this moringa, comparing it to the moringa that we plant back in the Philippines, you will see that these are really a tree. You see, they're big. You see that? I cannot even believe that this moringa will have this kind of, you see how this moringa are really, it's a tree, man. You see that? These are some of the moringa. These are the moringa plants or the moringa tree that Rocky Prince is using in combining it with the fish feeds that they are now also the one that they are now manufacturing their own pellets. And you see at the background, those are some of the feeds that is ready for the tilapia. They combine it with the moringa, and here it is. This is the innovation that we have done during. These are the moringa leaves. That's being used now by Rocky Friends in having a good quality product. And this is the fruit of our labor in our innovation and research that we have done a long time ago. And this will only justify because those employees of Foursquare Church did not respect all my videos and my properties and all my journals. That only evidence that I have done my research in aquaculture, and now this will now be the truth will set us all free, because they think I am lying, that I know Rocky Friends, that I collaborated with the man that's now considered a visionary in the 21st century. However, Rocky is now going to donate some because we told him that we started our ministry, another chance ministry, helping the homeless, because what we have experienced now being a homeless. So I have chosen to do first my ministry, and this is the mixtures that I do over here, ready for feeding tilapia. So here is another, those are the fruits of moringa, and here's now the leaves of moringa and branches. Don't say, can you go over there so that they can that we can show that we are not joking. So here's Don Jose, and the background are the moringa, and you will see here the leaves of moringa that is used in feeding the tilapia. And there you are, and they mix it with this one, and Rocky have the formulation. So now Aqua Farming Tech is self-sustaining for the feeds, which is the one eating the profit of aquaculture, especially this kind of market that we have over here, live market. And now we can say that we have now here a product, the tilapia, that is different, because even the feeds now is September 16, 2018. During my stay here in Aqua Farming Tech way back 2003, one of the observations that I observed regarding this business in live fish, because right now this is the holding tank where we gather all the fish that ready for market. And and then one of the suggestions that I made before is to have a net. This is the 100-footer tank, wherein the grow up tank, and for the tilapia. And one of the factors that is really eating the profit is the birds that really dive and catch all the fish over here. Now we have the net over here, okay. And this is one of the suggestions I made to minimize the loss in profit. Another document that is in the Facebook right now, it is stated here that he is already the assistant supervisor September 1st, 2014. And according to this another document that was mailed to his email to Noli Abo, April 2, 2015, according to this document, he is the district administrator. Is he lying again? This guy is really something, man. And according also to this document that we have already have an agreement that they're going to pay us back, the 3 years payback. And then after we sold the Airstream, he filed this unlawful detainer or the UD case against me, eviction. Again, he deceived me. We have an agreement, then after we sold the Airstream, after he harassed my spiritual brother, Noni Abo, man, now the truth is being exposed. How this kind of people are in the church and they call themselves Christian. And now if you're going to Google Efren Tadiaman, because it's there the International Foursquare Church have filed an eviction case against me. Now even my reputation is poor. Just try to imagine that. How it affected me until now because of this stupidity, idiot person. My God, this Jezebel spirit are already have this kind of extreme character. Unchristian. All my projects are all on hold due to what the corporate pastors have done to us. But God will show us the way, the truth, the life. God is an overseeing God and God of order and justice. Have patience and don't lose hope. Faith in Him, Jesus, will be your strength in facing any trials and tribulations. Amen to that. When this court record for residential eviction case came out last April 2018 in Google, it was so devastating because it will affect my character, my reputation, my good name, and even my credit score evaluation. And if I will apply to rent an apartment in the future, it will be hard for me. By the stupidity of some sociopath, I have to do a lot of explaining to my family, relatives, and close friends who knew me, wants to know the truth. Okay? What is the probability that I will be charged to pay them $16.66 per day by taking possession, according to them, of unit number 1, in which the truth of the matter is where they detained and isolated me for almost a year. And for those saved Christians, by faith will show the glory of God in them and exposing the goats and the wolves whose allegiance is to Satan. Their wrongful actions, the number of the beast 666 will be manifested. Amen and amen. The mark of the beast 666 in the book of Revelation chapter 13 verse 18, this called for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of man. That number is 666. It symbolizes the perfection of man's overall system that is separated from God and under the constant influence of the Satan, the devil. In John chapter 2, from verse 15 to 17, do not love the world, nor the things that are in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him, because everything that is in the world, lust of the flesh, and lust of the eyes, and the pretentious pride of physical life is not from the Father, but is from the world. And the world and its lust is passing away, but the one who does the will of God abides forever. The truth will set us all free. The corporate code of conduct, the Foursquare Church, statement of integrity, lifestyle, and ethical conduct.